Hi, in this lesson you will learn a few important things to keep in mind for the play on later streets. Let's jump right into it. This lesson is going to be about 8 important things to keep in mind when playing PLO after the flop. At this point, you should have a good hand selection and only be getting involved with hands that have a huge potential to connect well with many different boards. With that being said, probably the most important piece of advice is this. Don't draw to anything but the nuts. In PLO, the hands run so big, it's a waste of money drawing to second nuts, only to realize you were drawing dead all along because someone else was drawing to the nuts. Your main focus should be on winning big pots. This comes back to the hand selection and having solid hands with big play potential. Sure, you'll take lots of small pots too, but your goal should be winning your opponent's entire stacks while holding dominating nut hands. Don't build big pots with one-way hands, unless the board is safe as well. If you flop a bare set of kings on a king 8-3 rainbow board, you can try and build a big pot because you're a huge favorite. But if you flop a bare set of kings with nothing to go together with it on a king 10-9 with 2 hearts and build a big pot, you'll often be drawing thin to the board pairing. It might make sense to fold the nuts on the flop if the action gets super heavy and you have no redraws. This sums up the last 3 points. In PLO, there's sometimes spots like that when it's just better to fold your temporary nuts on the flop because the other players can easily have the same nut hands but with redraws, flush draws, backdoors, etc. So when you build a big pot, you're only hoping to split it in the best case scenario and you will often lose. Don't give free cards. In PLO, the drawing hands run so big that you cannot afford to give free cards in a multi-way pots, because anyone can turn a card that changes the dynamics from you being a favorite to being even money or even far behind. Sure, there is a place for check raising, especially when the board is wet and there's many players involved, but if it gets checked behind and all of a sudden your nut hand becomes second nuts or there are good draws to the new nuts, you need to be cautious. Position is king. Of course, position in PLO is even more important than in Hold'em. Checking in Omaha, especially in multi-way pots, indicates weakness as there's much less check raising because players are afraid of giving free cards. So when you're in position and it gets checked around to you, you can often bet and take it down, or get just one color and bet again on the turn if no draws complete to take it down. If you have a big hand or a big draw, bet. This is connected to not giving free cards, but the main purpose is to build the big pot. Remember, you want to take their entire stacks, and if you bet the pot on the flop and get called by one player, you can bet 3 times as much on the turn, and if you get called again, your pot bet on the river is 9 times your pot bet on the flop. Also, the other advantage of betting is getting stronger hands or similar draws to fold and scooping the pot. Especially in multi-way pots, give your opponents credit for having the nuts when they bet. PLO is much more straightforward, especially in multi-way pots. When someone bets, they usually have the hand they are representing, so you're better off believing. Of course, this means being bluffed off of some pots, and that is fine. When you keep calling down hands because you don't want to be bluffed off those pots, you will literally burn money. Sure, if you know your opponent very well and you know their bluffing tendencies, you might occasionally call them down in spots when they are bluff heavy, but at the beginning, just fold and let go of hands where you don't have the nuts and someone is clearly repping them. So to quickly sum up, don't draw to anything but the nuts, focus on winning big pots, don't build big pots with one-way hands unless the board is safe. It might make sense to fold the nuts on the flop if the action gets super heavy and you have no redraws. Don't give free cards. Position is king. If you have a big hand, bet. Give your opponents credit for having the nuts when they bet. These tips are very straightforward, but you would be surprised how many players overlook them, and especially players transitioning from Hold'em. So keep them in mind and you should be good. Do you want to learn how to play PLO? Are you a beginner player who's never played Omaha before? Do you want to learn how to crush casual players easily? If so, this course is perfect for you. It's a crash course on pot limit Omaha dedicated for beginner players. You will learn all the fundamentals of PLO. You will learn what hands to play, when to play them, and how to play them. You will learn the basic strategies that allow you to be a winning player at your home games or microstakes online. If you want to learn PLO quickly and easily, get this course now at gokupoker.com.